From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And now, two guys whose long range on the court is only matched by their long range on the golf course. OHSAA Hall of Fame coach Doug Kraus and our guest host today, Tim Meister.
Well, I would guess our guest host can really rocket those golf balls out there a little bit further than this guy can.
I'm glad you don't let facts get in the way of your stories.
There you go. You're welcome. But, yeah, we'll see. Season's coming up, and I even held one of my clubs in my hand the other day.
Wow. Did you look good holding it?
No, not really.
I'll say I brought that up because where's our other friend?
Our other friend, that's interesting you brought that up. Our other friend is our sidekick, my brother Dave. And yes, he's been holding the golf club a lot here recently because he's down in Florida. And every time I talk to him, hurry up, I got to go golf. So, yeah, he's been golfing every day. And, that's why we brought in our guest host, Tim Meister.
Our Wally Pip.
Yeah, Meister Brow. Yeah, he's Wally Pip. Yeah, if you know the Wally Pip story, this is my brother Dave just got Wally pipped.
Good reference if you don't look it up. View from the bench segment, which is usually something we do at the end of the program, we're going to begin with today because we have a question from Teddy, and it's an interesting one. It has to do with officiating of games. Teddy wants to know your perspectives as former coaches, former players on the way games were officiated in the 1980s and on back as players and coaches, and if the changes in the way that things are officiated now maybe is part of why the scores are lower today than they used to be back in the 80s and 70s. And maybe even Teddy says, has that possibly, in your view, caused fans to lose some interest in the game, especially in high school, because of more contact being allowed in the game today?
Well, that's a whole bunch of things in that question. But, going on back to 1980 and further, I played back in the 70s, early 70s. And I can honestly tell you that when you played basketball back then, anything that was a touch foul was a whistle. And I don't care if it was outside, inside, wherever on the floor, it was a whistle. Now, the unique thing about that whistle was when you got called that foul, they kept things pretty quick. I mean, they blew pretty quick. You had to raise your hand. You had to say, yep, that was me. You had to raise your hand up that you had acknowledged that you were the guy who made the whistle was called on. And if you showed any disgust at all, trust me, a T was forthcoming. So, yeah, it was a little bit different there. One thing as far as the scores, my senior year in high school, we had a pretty good team. We averaged 80-plus a game. We don't see that too much anymore as Teddy here is referring to. But, is it a change in reason why the scores are lower? No doubt. The referee, they're allowing plays, contact to go. It is rough. It's sometimes there's no place for the meek and mild inside. You better go in there and you better strap it up and you go play. You better, especially in big games or whatever. They want to let the players, determine the call or determine the game. So they're going to maybe not call it. So hey, players make the plays.
Yeah, I would agree with Coach Kraus. Being a player in the 80s, and this is the perspective I always use, it was very much like that in high school. You couldn't touch the offensive player. The offensive player couldn't initiate contact either, so it went both ways. When I went from high school and played at Defiance College, I thought, oh my gosh, the physicality of college basketball really opened my eyes. And they play high school basketball now 4 to 5 times more physical than we did at Defiance College back in 85 through 89. So the evolvement of the game, it has become more physical. We joked earlier about the legal hand check. I said that's an oxymoron back when we grew up because there was no such thing. Coach Kraus talked about the ball going into the post and just what happens to post players just to try to get the ball up to the basket. So again, that's how the game's evolved. I think we have to be very careful saying it's bad officiating. I think that's a misnomer. It's different officiating because that is how the game has gone, to the point where I now say there's no such thing as a good or bad official. There's a consistent official, and there's an inconsistent, and all coaches and players want are consistent.
Yeah, call the play at both ends the same way, and that's it. And and now it's tourney time, especially district level for the girls, and next that's going on. The play will continue to get more physical as you get down the tourney trail. It is it's amazing how that changes as you go on in the tournament.
How much does that affect your coaching then? As you coach in the halftime and intermission, things like that, do you address that frequently as a coach? Like, okay, this is how we've seen it called up to this point. Do you feel like you have to as a coach?
Well, I would say prior to the game, for the week in the practice or whatever, you bring it up. Hey guys, they're not going to blow the whistle. You got to be physical. We can't back down from anybody. We have to get at it. And you know what? Sometimes you get into a game and all of a sudden, boom, they blow a whistle, and you have to adjust. That's any regular season game or tournament game anytime. Yeah, now it's up to the players to adjust to how they're going to call, and that's easier said than done sometimes. But yeah, it's something you have to address.
It's well said. I couldn't say any better than him. I would just add on that when you coach a long time, and he's coached a lot longer than I have, but even going into year 14, 15, 16, you knew certain officials would call games certain ways. So you knew when the officials walked out, if you had a certain official, you'd always take your kids back in. Maybe,
Huddle up, guys.
Maybe 5 or 6 minutes before the buzzer rang to start the game, you go back in, final words. And if we had an official that, hey, he's not going to call the charge, or he's going to call the charge, or he's going to let you get real handsy, absolutely did we address that so our kids knew.
All right, we invite all of you to drop us a line, ask us questions similar to what Teddy asked. You can ask questions about coaching, basketball, funny situations you'd like to hear our hosts talk about. You can reach us on Hoop Chat at NWOH Hoop Chat. That's on X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it. Also, you can email your questions to us at NWOhioHoopChat@gmail.com.
Just want to say, hey, thanks, Teddy, for the question. Appreciate it.
Great question.
Let's turn next to our Coach's Corner segment of the program.
Want to welcome to a Coach's Corner, Patrick Henry, head coach Bryan Hieber. Heebs, how are we doing this afternoon?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. 21-0, 7-0 in league. First championship for the Patriots since 2006. What an outstanding season. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And, to get to that mark, obviously you got to have a little bit of luck go your way, but our guys have been dialed in since day one. We didn't get the start that maybe everybody else got, with 8 practices and no scrimmages, but it's just kind of been a whirlwind, and our guys have been grinding, and it's good to see the fruit of their labor.
Well, I would concur with that. How about go on here? Let's tell us about your background, Heebs. Who got you interested in the teaching profession and coaching?
Yeah, well, obviously, I kind of take a different route into coaching, especially for maybe basketball coaches. I started out, I obviously played for a really good basketball coach in Dave Krause.
I know him.
Yes, yeah, probably pretty well. And we had success when I played, and that kind of, gave me the love and the want to kind of bring those glory days back to Patrick Henry basketball, if there was an opportunity to do that. And but I kind of went a different route. Also played for another Hall of Fame coach in Bill Inselman in football, and right when I graduated high school and was graduated college, I was helping coach football for a couple years, and then we started having kids and raising a family, so I got out of it a little bit, and I was athletic director at a time, so obviously that was taking a lot of my time, and then decided to go into the administration realm and have been an elementary principal for the last 10 years. And then just kind of hadn't been coaching for a while, just kind of coaching some youth teams in basketball, and an opportunity came up where there was an opening, and again, like I mentioned earlier, I just kind of felt like the basketball program and the culture that was there when I played, and Coach Krause and Coach Seaman instilled, and had some success. I just wanted to bring that back, and felt like I could bring some of that energy and enthusiasm and guidance and leadership, even though I didn't have a whole lot of experience. in being a head coach. Just kind of dove right in and was able to control the things that I can control and do the best that I can. And here we are.
Well, trust me, you're doing a pretty good job with that background that you have. And that's interesting to me too. As an administrator there, that a lot of schools administrators not going to be coaching, but they gave you that privilege to do that. So you obviously have the support of the big dogs over there at PH.
Yeah, and I actually there was an opportunity when I was getting into, and I had my administrative license, and I was athletic director at the time. There was an opportunity for a middle school position that had opened up here at Patrick Henry, and our superintendent had asked me if I'd be interested in it. And to be honest with you, the only thing that kind of held me back from taking that as my first principal job was the fact that there might be an opportunity, it might be a chance. And I don't, at that time I didn't know what sport, but just before I retire, I want to be a head coach. I want to try that out. And so I wanted to always leave that open. And I knew if at the elementary level, you don't have a lot of things that are after school. You don't have junior high sports or high school sports. So I felt if I was going to, take an administrative role that would allow me that opportunity, or at least have the time to be able to do that, elementary is probably going to be the way to go. And so, again, I didn't know at the time that that's what I was going to get into this role, but I knew that at some point I wanted to try that and kind of scratch that itch. And so it's a good thing I did, because then when this position opened, it didn't conflict with a lot of my day-to-day responsibilities.
Bryan, a two-part question. Very unique that you're a graduate of Patrick Henry, now back coaching at your home school, and also at the same time coaching your son, who is a tremendous athlete. We know he signed at Ohio State to play baseball. If you could touch on those two and what the unique challenges are of coaching at your home school, then follow that up with also coaching your own son.
Yeah, I think, coaching at your alma mater that can be maybe good or bad. I guess it depends on what type of legacy you left when you were here. I think for me it has been really great. Like a lot of the people that when I first took over the job, just having resources, having people that I can talk to, that is willing to help me out and give me a little bit of leeway as I'm trying to figure things out and learn as I go, was great. And so, I don't know any more than just my personal experience. But I think from that side, going back to, being the head coach of, because I can talk about when I look up at the banners, when I look at the 97 state team, and talk about trying to bring that glory back, I can speak from experience because I've been there, I've done that. And I don't know how many times I've told them, this same floor that you're, blood, sweat, and tears on, I've done the same. So I'm not going to ask you to do anything more than, what I wouldn't do if I was in your situation to get us back. And then, obviously it's a unique experience coaching your son. There's going to be some great things. I love it. I get to be with him and time's dwindling. He's a junior. So, one more year and he's off to college. And I do like that, but I also think, it is hard being a coach's son, because they get the other players get to go home and be away from coach, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen. And I try to do a good job of not carrying that over between coach and dad. But when you're watching film, and I may call him into the living room and say, hey, look at this right here, see what you're doing there. And so I think so. We've had a nice, healthy balance between coach and dad, but it is definitely a unique experience. And so far, so good.
Well, Heebs, you mentioned the 97 state championship team, which of course you were a key member of. What do you remember about that team that led them to be so successful? And do you see any similarities with your team this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that team was we had a lot of guys that could play basketball, a lot of guys that could score the basketball, and I think we just had such a good chemistry. Nobody really cared, who was the high point man or who, was getting the credit, who was getting some of the publicity and the pay. We didn't care about that. We just wanted to win. And we were willing to do whatever it took to do that. And I remember more moments about like our experiences after a win in the locker room or a bus ride home after a win on the road. I remember more of that than, who scored more, who averaged more on those teams. And that's the thing that I see with this group this year. Like they absolutely genuinely, and I've said this a lot this year, but they love each other. Like they literally like would do anything for each other. They check their egos at the door. And obviously we have some guys on our team that do get a lot of publicity, that do, a lot for us. And nobody cares. Like nobody's jealous. Nobody, it doesn't hurt the chemistry and the culture in our locker room. And so, that's something that, I can bring to the table just from a leadership perspective, is that, I've been in that type of team. I've been on that type of team, and I've been in that type of locker room. And when you do that, that's where you really see a lot of growth, and you can see teams really take off from that. And so it is kind of eerily similar, just the way the locker room feels with the players and the chemistry that they have.
Well, that's good stuff. Heebs, I was over there one afternoon there late in the practice. I saw a practice of yours, and I was very impressed at that point. You were working on some specials, from end of game stuff, full and half court situations. How much do you do that? And obviously, can you stress the importance of that as well?
Yeah, so we do spend some time. Usually once a week, we'll designate some time to work on some special situations. If we I'll say, here's the situation. We're up this, we're down this much time's left, and we have certain plays that we run. And I'm sure, both of you guys know as coaches that you work on those things and you may never use them at all the entire season. But you also, don't want to be in that moment where you're thinking, man, I wish I would have practiced that. We needed that. So we practice those things. And, sometimes it's set situations. We even practice at times how to save the ball out of bounds. So if you're running to save the ball out of bounds, we practice those things. And so again, it's just trying to, as the season goes on, I mean, there's so many things that you see maybe on film or mistakes that you've made throughout the season. And as we see that, we try to work on those things. And sometimes there are things that maybe happen just one time all season, but we saw it, maybe we didn't handle it the right way. And then we just, add that into the mix to work on there when we're working on our specials.
Well, hey, real quick, you played for my brother, Dave, of course. Can you tell me something that maybe you do in practice, or you do that maybe something that he used to do that you have taken over? You've done the same thing. Can you think of a situation?
Well, I don't whistle like him. That's the one thing that I always remember. Like I have to actually use a whistle. He could make that whistle sound with just, his tongue. Like he was good at that. And then he always had the foot stomp too. When he did the foot stomp, you knew that he was mad. So I don't have that either. I guess the one thing that I remember playing and I find myself doing at times is I felt like he never allowed us to get content. And so like, that's the same thing. Like if I feel, again, we've had a pretty good run and we've won a lot of games, but if the focus isn't there in practice, if there's things that we can control, like our effort, our energy, our communication, if that's starting to slip just a little bit, we might have a reminder that needs to take place. And I think all coaches have their special reminders, whether it's,
frozen
sprints
push-ups.
or frozen push-ups,
Yep.
frozen push-ups or, or things like that. But just, not letting us get content and keep, having a good practice with focus and intent.
Hey, Bryan, in 5 seconds or less, national championship of foot stomps, Dave Krause or Paul Wayne?
Oh man, I'm gonna go Coach Krause just because I was on the other end of it, so I knew that it's time to dial back in. But I've seen Coach Wayne's too, so both are elite level.
Yeah, they're both pretty good. Hey, just be glad that he was stopping the floor and not your back end.
That's right.
Hey.
That's right.
Bryan, hey, we appreciate your time here this afternoon, and I know you're starting a tournament run here Friday night at home. So we want to wish you the best and have enjoyed your season. You guys have been awesome, and wish you the best as you continue.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Abe.
Time now to thank our sponsors, D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 445-5751 and ask about D&G's mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 419-445-8088 to learn more about their many services. 445-8088 for Innovatech Solutions, or you can visit them online at innovatech.solutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, they're proud supporters of Archbold Blue Streaks and all the area students and athletes for all across the area. You can call S&W Mills of Archbold for the animal bedding needs that you might have. 419-445-5206. Call S&W Mills. And BSN Sports, their job is making sports easier for coaches and players. They have top-notch fan gear, personalized uniforms, everything your team needs to succeed. Contact Jim Guerra's Rob Welch or Rob Held today. Take your game to the next level with BSN Sports. You're in the heart of the game. Let's return to the Coach's Corner for our second featured coach today.
I want to welcome head coach Matt Arellano from Paulding High School to our Coach's Corner. Matt, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, you ought to be doing great. Your Lady Panthers 18-5, and you are going tonight over on the district tournament at Miller City versus at Defiance. My bad. At Defiance versus Delta. And you know what? This is the third time you scheduled this game. Maybe tonight you'll get a chance to play Delta.
I guess it was destined to be. I guess we had two cancellations due to weather, and now we're gonna get the real deal here and on the big stage.
Well, that's awesome, Matt. You're a Paulding grad, and as I was going through school and so forth, I remember back I had some coaches that influenced me to go into coaching. How about you? Did you have anybody out there that kind of gave you a reason? Boy, I want to be a coach, just like him or her or whomever.
Really, honestly, it was my own kids. That was kind of my inspiration to do it, and just loving the game. I've always loved basketball, watched basketball, and just something I wanted to do and give it a try. And I was an assistant coach, did the parent head coach thing, coming up. And then when my youngest graduated, I decided, I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a try, and went for the varsity job and got it.
Well, you've obviously done a great job. This is your 6th year with the Lady Panthers, and you kind of mentioned some of your background with coaching. Can you kind of go on with that a little bit more as far as what level you coached and who you coached with and so forth? Did you coach the guys at all at any time?
Oh, yeah. I was on the boys' side for a number of years. I was a freshman coach, did a partial season when a coach stepped down as a JV coach, coached junior high a couple times, flipped over to the girls' side, did junior high there as well, JV coach for 3 years, and a varsity assistant for 2.
Great. Okay. And
I've done my rounds.
You have, and that's awesome. And I like that. You went from the boys to the ladies. And what's the difference or two that you can see coaching guys and coaching girls? Or are there any differences?
There's differences, in their demeanor, coming into the game. There's, they are very detail oriented. If you tell the girls do A, B, and C, you're pretty sure they're going to do A, B, and C, and it's going to be exactly A, B, and C, and there's not much in between. And to try to teach them that gray area in basketball where we'll run this set, but this is also what happens if they defend it this way. We got to do this. Those kind of things are harder to to get them to do and understand that, they want to follow what you're telling them. They're just super coachable. I love doing it. And I think I make an impact. And, that's the biggest thing, is I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to make the experience, good for them, when they look back and, despite wins, losses, whatever, did you have a good time? That's kind of what I wanted when I was coaching, as an assistant and JV coach. I kind of saw, they just weren't having fun. They didn't have that atmosphere that really was conducive to that harmonious family atmosphere. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring. And I think for the most part, we do that. I have a great coaching staff, and we all strive for that.
Matt, you've done a terrific job of building that program. And I've always said coaches that build successful programs, they have a couple of non-negotiable foundation pieces. Like, this is what my program's built on, and we're not negotiating it whatsoever. What would you say are your 1 or 2 or 3 foundational pieces that are non-negotiable that you've built the Paulding girls program on?
Transparency, for one. The girls know where they stand, and what needs to be done to better their position on the team. Honesty, and then effort is the biggest thing. I can deal with physical mistakes. But the effort has to be there. We can't dwell on the bad things. We got to push forward with the next play mentality. But those are the biggest things: transparency, honesty, and effort.
I like those. That's really good. Good stuff. How about your Lady Panthers? We said great season, 18-5. What's made this team so successful, Matt?
A lack of individual ego.
Nice.
We have a good team ego. We have a little bit of swag to us, but they don't worry about who scores. They don't worry about who gets the recognition. Everybody likes that. We know that. That's not a secret. But they're not dwelling on that and worried about that. They're looking at the ultimate goal. Did we win the basketball game? Did we go out and do the things that we wanted to do, win or lose? Did we go out and do the things that we wanted to do that night? And we want to feel good about that every time the buzzer goes off. So
I like it for sure. How about last game against Archbold? I happened to see that game, and I was very impressed watching your squad that night, especially with how you changed your defenses. You kept the streaks off balance pretty well. When do you know how to change D? When do you know when to change the D? What's your gut feeling on that?
Are we generating turnovers? Are we slow-footed? Are we, sometimes, you gotta throw them in that man defense to get them moving. Kids are going to be kids. And sometimes when you say zone defense, they think it's, oh, okay. I can be a little lazier, when in fact, it's the truth, it's not a bad thing.
I know. Yeah,
it's honest. And so, we'll do that. Coaches are in my ear all the time, hey, let's go here. We got to get some more deflections, some more steals. We got to get some things going. I mean, everything's predicated on defense for us. We have to play solid defense to ignite our offense. And, or just, the team starts to feel a little comfortable, even if the defense is working, but you start to see passes start to rip through your defense a little better. They might still, take an ill-advised shot or miss the shot. But if they're starting to catch a rhythm in that defense, maybe flip it for a little bit. Coach calls a timeout. They call a timeout because they're not liking what they see. Maybe flip it then to disrupt whatever they were drawing up in that timeout. Just things like that.
Matt, you mentioned a couple things. You talked about your assistant coaches earlier on, and then you just mentioned your assistant coaches in your ear. I'm kind of curious how you utilize your assistant coaches, what maybe some of those conversations are, and what you encourage your assistant coaches to provide you with during a game.
They have a huge voice in the team. It's not me coaching the team, it's us coaching the team. And basketball, you could do something one night and it just is beautiful, works great. You do something the next night and it's the same thing and it it looks awful. Just to have my ear and give me ideas, throughout the game, maybe try this player here. Hey, let's get a couple shots for Addie Pease. She hasn't shot one in 3 minutes. Little things like that. Foul trouble. Hey, number 12 is in foul trouble. Let's get her in an ISO situation and see if we can draw number 3 on her. Simple things like that, but they're intricate and they're irreplaceable on our team. The 3 coaches I have, I've had for a very long time. One of them I had for 27 years. So
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And and Ben, I've had him for, we've been together darn near 15 years, I'd say, coaching with or for one another. I coach for him also on the baseball side. And, Jody Griffith, she's been with my program since I started. She bumped down to junior high for a couple of years just because of, issues getting kids to and from places. Her daughter played at that level at that time. So she went down, coached for 2 years. And then when she came back to high school, Jody came back with her. And just an intricate part of our team and our philosophy. And they know what we want to do as a team, and they're awesome.
That's great. And stability is awesome too. That's big. District tournament starts tonight. I've always felt the district tournament was the one time of year that was just a huge time of year, best time of year as far as the actual tournament, because a lot of teams are now out of the tournament, and you're going to be playing another team that's had a really good record, and you're going to go against those Lady Panthers. So I'm going to say the Panthers are going to win tonight is my guess here. But anyway.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, going against Delta tonight, what do you think you got to do to advance to the finals?
I think one of the biggest things we got to do is navigate their zone and make quick yet thorough decisions. We can't be weak with our passes. We've done a pretty good job all year long with that, navigating zones. They're very dedicated to that zone and what they do. Recognize, where they're trying to get their offense, and know those trigger points and how we got to get to them and the things we got to do to defend them. They're a solid team. A little bit like us, where they spread it around a little bit. They do have, the freshman who's, kind of their go-to. We don't necessarily have a go-to type player. But she does score 14, 15 a game for them. And we want to make sure we recognize where she's at all times. And the Sprout girl, we want to recognize where she's at all times. So it'll be an interesting matchup. They've had a great year, and with having the 2 cancellations, we've scouted them. We've probably watched 11 of their games already this year. So, it's, so we have a good understanding.
No surprises tonight.
Yeah, right. So we know their personnel pretty well, and it's just about execution and coming up with the right mindset, having that next play mentality, and understanding that Delta does a good job of turning you over with their zone. So we're going to have turnovers, and that's all right. We can play through those things with our defense, and I always tell them, we don't want to turn it over, but the biggest key for us defensively, is the differential. Are we turning them over more? And that's what we've got to do. Whether we have 20, or we have 17, or we have 12, I want that differential to be 7 or more. And we've done a really good job. I think on the average, we're doing that on the season. So far so good, and we hope it continues tonight.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time here today, Matt. And you know what, your Lady Panthers were fun to watch last week, and I wish you all the best as you go against the Delta Panthers tonight. And maybe you get down to Tournament Trail a little bit longer. It's a great run. Just keep her going.
That's the plan. We appreciate the coverage. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome. Good luck.
Good luck, Matt.
Time now again for our sponsors, D&G Welding of Archbold, 445-5751. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innova Tech Solutions of Archbold with a K, Innova Tech. Solutions.net or 445-8088 to contact them for your trusted technology partner. S&W Mills of Archbold, you can contact them for animal bedding needs and all kinds of other items that you can get from Mills. 445-5206 at S&W Mills. And BSN Sports, top-notch fan gear, personalized uniforms, all kinds of team needs that you might have. Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held, and you can patronize BSN Sports, the heart of the game. So we thank you for your sponsorship, and let's turn our attention next to the Senior Spotlight.
Want to welcome to our Senior Spotlight Johanna Tester from Wauseon, the Lady Indians. Indians come into the tournament play at 19-4. What a great season. So welcome to the show, Johanna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Let's go right to it. When did you start playing any sports, and who's been a big influence in your career?
Well, I played sports mainly my whole life, but I started in like 7th grade, so middle school. My main inspiration are like my parents. They push me to be the best I can be, and whenever they don't define me by my sports, and I'm so grateful for that. They just always push me every single day, and through school and sports as well.
Johanna, you are a 3-sport athlete, and that has almost become a unicorn. I'm curious on a couple of fronts. One is, do you have a favorite, or do you just like the sport that's in season? And 2, how do you juggle the demands of the off season, especially the summer?
Well, volleyball is definitely my favorite. But I obviously love basketball and track more because the friendships I made is insane. I don't know, but volleyball has definitely be my favorite. Throughout the summer, track ends after school does. So during the summer, I'm still doing track, and then I have open gyms, volleyball and basketball, throughout the whole summer. So I'm pretty busy throughout the whole summer with all my sports.
Do you find yourself, or do your parents make you take a little bit of time off to let your body heal and to get away from it?
Not really. I try to enjoy it because I know it's going to be over soon. So I want to go every single day, work hard, and spend time with my friends mostly too.
Well, that's good stuff there. Growing up in Wauseon, and the Wauseon Lady Indians program has been pretty daggone solid, obviously. As you were growing up, was there another player that you admired while you were watching all the ball?
Yeah, I would say Haley Meyer. She played with me for volleyball and basketball, and she did track too, but she was a thrower, so I didn't really see her that much. But we became really close, and her skill and effort and practice, and she was the only senior for basketball my sophomore year. So she made sure she got at us and was a great leader on and off the court. And when I was a freshman on the varsity volleyball team, she went out of her way to make friends with me, so I wasn't lonely.
Oh, that's nice. I can understand why you would look up to her. That's awesome, and she was a nice player herself. I remember her.
She was. Yeah.
How about if we were to ask Coach Morton to describe you as a player, what do you think she would say?
I would think she would say definitely hardworking, definitely in practice. I'm a hustler, team player. I hope that's what she would say about me.
Well, she said this. I asked her. She said you are hardworking, as you said. She also said you're laid back and you are the team prankster.
Oh yeah, I definitely am.
Give me some pranks that you might do with your team.
Well, I mainly prank the coaches. Well, the varsity assistant coaches who I mess around with the most.
Okay.
I say, I have something for you, and it'll just be like a rock. I open up your hand and I give it to her, or just a wrapper or something. And I just always mess with her.
Well, I also hear that you have a stuffed animal that you like to carry around. Tell us about your favorite little animal.
Well, it's the world's largest rodent, and people find it so weird, but Like, I like it. So, I don't think they live in America. I think it's like Australia or something. But I have a stuffed animal of it. I got one. I have two actually. I got one for my birthday in September, and then I got another one for Christmas. And after Christmas, we played the Holiday Classic tournament at Napoleon, and I brought it with me to that tournament, and we won that tournament. So ever since then, I have to bring it to every single game.
So it will be on the bus tonight, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, you didn't tell me what this animal is. What's the name of this animal? This
It's a
large rodent.
capybara.
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 Yep,
Yeah.
capybara. In fact, Coach Borton told me about that, and I had to look it up. I've never heard of a capybara anywhere. How about you, Meister?
I know a lot.
No, I had not. In fact, Coach Kraus preview told me this. I had to look it up on my phone. I've never seen this animal before. How in the world did you fall in love with a capybara?
I just see it on my phone all the time, like Instagram, TikTok, like, and they're just so laid back. They get along with every single animal. Like they'll see them, like there's videos and pictures of them like standing on alligators' backs, and it's just like they just seem so laid back, and it's just so funny to me.
Yeah, and they are huge. I can see why they're the largest rodent.
Yeah, they're
for sure.
huge.
Yeah. So you Lady Indians, you're 19-4. You are opening up district play tonight. What's your role on your squad? And why don't you mention some of the other team members that are having so much success with?
My role is mainly, I wouldn't say I'm mainly a strong offensive player, but I take pride in like the defensive end, my hustle up and down the court, and my assists, and just assisting my teammates is the most important thing to me. I love getting an awesome pass.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophie Roop, the last time we played Bryan, she scored about, I think it was 24 points. So she'll be a big role player on the offensive end tonight, I hope. And Mackenzie Staza, she got first team for league and co-player of the year or something like that. She got first league. So, I mean, she'll be a big role tonight.
Great. Staying with the Bryan game, give us, Coach Kraus and I, one or two keys to winning tonight's game.
I just think we all need to work as a team and know our roles. And Sophia Root needs to have another night. And we need to get back on defense and pass the ball up the court as well.
Okay. And we like to ask all the players this. Coach Kraus tells me that you're number 1. Any significance to you picking that jersey number?
Actually, no, not at all. But I was number 11 at the start my freshman year, but then I switched number 1 because I don't know. And then ever since then, I'm like, wow, I really like this number.
So you went from 2 1s to 1 1.
Yeah, you're number 1. I like
exactly.
it.
You're efficient.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
Well, hey, we appreciate your time here, Johanna, and we know you're going to graduate from Wauseon this upcoming spring. What's your future plans?
I plan on attending Lourdes University for volleyball and becoming an early childhood educator.
It's a great profession. Stay with it.
That is awesome. So, hey, we thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to watching your game tonight, and we both will be there, as you mentioned. So good luck, and I wish you the best.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's thank our sponsors again for our Hoop Chat program. D&G Welding of Archbold, 445-5751 for D&G. Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, 445-8088 or innovatechsolutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, 445-5206, S&W Mills. And BSN Sports, contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held for BSN. Thank you, all 4 of you, for your sponsorship for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Let's get to our second senior spotlight.
Want to welcome from Pettisville High School, Mason Wyse, to our senior spotlight. Mason, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
We're just doing fine. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hey, your Pettisville Blackbirds have had a really fine season, 17-4, 6-1 BBC champions again. So congratulations on that, and to you and your teammates.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Mason, when did you get interested in start playing sports, and who was your biggest influence?
I mean, I think my dad was my biggest influence. He helped me figure out things like that, get better.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I mentioned a little bit ago, your season has been a really, really good one for your Blackbirds. Let's break it down a little bit. What's been your role on this team, and what's been some keys to your success? In your role first,
I think, yeah. So my role, in particular, I think that is trying to keep the energy, set the tone on defense, try to work our way around through the defensive end more.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how about some keys to your team's success in your opinion?
I mean, Jack Lovemeyer's been big. He's probably, he's our best player. He's good on both ends, offensively and defensively. I think he's been a huge role for our success.
Hey, Mason, you talked about your role, and I think a lot of times, especially the common fan, will look at the newspaper at the box score and they'll see who scores how many points, or maybe there'll be something about a number of rebounds. Your role's a little different, but it's just every bit as important as someone you mentioned, Jack, who scores a ton of points. Talk to us about how you accept that role and the importance of accepting your role for your other teammates to see that as well.
I mean, I don't score a crap ton of points. I think since my role is more of a defensive role, I take pride in ball pressure and set the tone that way. So that way it gets my team hyped up and ready to go. And then when one of us does good, we all do good.
Well, that's a good perspective. Yeah. I know on your team, you only have a few seniors on your squad. You have some good young players. In fact, I know you have a freshman playing a key role as well. Can you expound on how maybe you help your freshmen?
Yeah, I think by giving him a good example and showing him how to play, it gives him a huge confidence boost, and then he plays fantastic. He's doing great this year. Yeah,
he's had a solid season, young Galvin there. Let me just tread water here a little bit with your role. I mean, how have you seen your game individually change from your sophomore year to your senior year? Has anything changed?
I mean, picked a lot of defense. That's my thing. I like the deflections, steals. Those are so I try to ramp up the pressure, ball pressure, try to speed them up. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a lot more of that.
Mason, as coaches, we see this a lot, and I think with you are a great example of this. When you're a sophomore or junior, there may not be the urgency there is when you're a senior. Can you talk about the difference of being a senior versus that junior, sophomore year? Maybe do you play a little more desperate? Do you know this is the last season, so it's a little different for you? So talk about your mentality and your approach and how it's been different as a senior.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's your last go at things. You really try to make the best of it. And I think as a senior, you have a lot more confidence compared to sophomore, like a junior. So, just playing with confidence, knowing that it's your last run at things, try to make the best of it.
I like it. Mason, you were at number 14, right? Any significance for you wearing that number 14? I
mean, 14, it's just been the number that I've played with for a while. There's not a lot of significance for me behind it. That's just my number.
Okay, that makes sense to me. How about any pregame stuff, rituals? How about a pregame meal? You got a favorite meal you got to have for pregame?
I got a Gatorade. Normally, I like to have the green apple Gatorades. Those are my go-to.
Ooh, green apple. Woo, that'll get you going. How about your favorite college or a pro team?
My favorite pro team. I don't. Probably like for the NBA.
Yeah, that's
would be
fine.
the Raptors.
The Raptors. That's
I
a
don't
good
watch.
one.
I don't watch a lot of sports, but I'd have to go with the Raptors.
Okay.
That's an interesting point, Mason. I was going to ask you, what do you do in your off time? I mean, obviously, basketball is a big part of what you do, but talk a little bit about what you maybe do in some other activities at school or some other interests you have outside of basketball.
I mean, I like to hang out with my friends. That's a big piece. And like other sports, I play soccer. That's a lot of my time goes into sports and just hanging out with my buddies.
Well, on soccer, you had to play a little defense there too, didn't you?
Yep. That's my thing.
So let me ask this: if I ask Coach Leppemeyer if he could describe you in a word or two, what would you think Coach Lepp would say?
I mean, I hope good things, but I think hardworking, I would hope, and just like ready to go.
Yep, and you're pretty much on target because I did ask him, and he told me you are a great teammate and you are a stingy defender. So he's taking notice. Trust me. And those are good things for coaches to know because we all love stingy defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Mason, you play for Pettisville, and because Coach Krause and I are old, we can go back a long way, all the way back to the Selgo brothers, to Dick and Jim and Tim. In fact, Tim Selgo was one of my favorite players when I first started watching basketball. Do you guys talk at all about the pride of the program at Pettisville, the long-standing tradition? And if you do, talk about the importance of carrying that on.
I mean, I take pride of going with Pettisville. I think it's great. I think the program's great. The students, the players, the athletes are great. I mean, I think it's a great program.
It is. It's a great program, and it always has been a great program.
Yeah, and you know what? When you go to the bird cage over there and play, it's a great atmosphere because your fans follow you.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I always like playing over there against your birds. How about this? You go to start your tournament play this Friday night at Bryan. You are the number 1 seed in the entire district tournament, going up against North Central. So what are you've played North Central before. What do the birds need to do to advance to the district finals?
I think we need to once again starts on the defensive end. I think we need to apply pressure, get them to maybe to the ball over, get some freebies, and then build up from there. Because once we set the tone with defense, we can set the tone with offense.
Okay, I like the defensive aspect myself. How about future plans for Mason Wyse when you graduate from Pettisville High School?
I'm thinking going to Trine.
Nice.
For electrical engineering.
Well, that's a great place, Trine for engineering. I like it. All
yeah.
right. Well, you know what, Mason, we sure appreciate you taking the time here to join us on our Hoop Chat, and we certainly wish you continued success with your Pettisville Blackbirds, and want to see you down the tourney trail. So good luck.
Thank you.
There's the final buzzer. Timeout. Huddle up, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about league champs and heading to the postseason in both boys and girls.
Let's start with league champs first, Bryan. On the girls' side, congratulations to the Patrick Henry Lady Patriots for winning the NWAL. The girls' side, Wayne Trace for the GMC, and Montpelier won the BBC. On the boys' side, congratulations again to the Patriots of Patrick Henry, who made it a clean sweep. From the GMC, a three-way tie between Wayne Trace, Tenora, and Paulding, and another three-way tie in the BBC between Eden, Pettisville, and Montpelier.
Now let's look at the girls tournament. District tournament action starts tonight in a lot of sites. Over at Miller City, the Division 4 tournament is going to be featuring Wauseon and Bryan, which I think is going to be a really good game. Tim, what do you think about that game?
Wauseon just got Bryan last week in a close game, about midway through the third quarter. Wauseon pulled away. Bryan had a chance to knock off a second team that had beaten them early in the year, beating Napoleon in the sectional final. So I think it will be a great contest.
Yeah, and the second game over at Miller City is number 1 seed Kenton and versus St. Mary's. And What's interesting about this game is Kenton has 20 wins, 20-3. St. Mary's 9 wins, but one of their wins was beating St. Mary's back in early February. So that's an interesting game to see who will advance to the finals on Saturday. Looking at Defiance Division 5. Tonight you're looking at Ottawa Glandorf undefeated against Bath. And then the second game is an interesting game. It's Paulding and Delta. I think this is going to be a very good game. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, those are two teams that have had great seasons. We talked to Coach a little bit earlier from Paulding. He thinks they're fairly evenly matched. I would tend to agree to that. When it comes down to districts, sometimes it's all about nerves. It's all about how kids respond to adversity. So we'll see which team handles that the best.
Then moving to Division 6 over at Napoleon tonight. Actually, it's Thursday night. Patrick Henry at 22-1 will go against Evergreen. So two league rivals, and they obviously beat Evergreen during the season. But anything can happen, especially the first game of the tournament at the district level. So that should be interesting. The second game I think is going to be really interesting is Ottawa Hills, who beat Montpelier last week, is going to go against Tenora in the late game there, and those are two even teams, and that should be a good game. Going to Division 7, Miller City, Macomb, Ottawa Glandorf, and Kalida in North Baltimore out of our area, but those should be two pretty interesting games over there at Ottawa Glandorf. But Division 7 at Bryan now, the ones we're a little bit more looking towards is Thursday night, Hilltop Lady Cadets will go against Fayette. Now, what's interesting about this game is that Hilltop's beat them twice this year. The first time they beat them by 18 back in December. The second time, here about a month ago, they beat them by 6. So, third time the charm for Fayette Eagles. Who knows? This should be an interesting game. The second game tomorrow night will be the Stryker Lady Panthers versus the Edgerton Lady Dogs. And I think this is going to be a great matchup. 12-10 Stryker, 12-11 Edgerton won the game earlier by 15, but once again, tourney time, anything can happen. Anything, Tim, on that?
I think that's going to be a great district. It's going to be very interesting. If I'm not mistaken, Hilltop has the best record, but Edgerton's the only team that has beat every team in the district.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there.
So the girls' district round is happening right now. It's probably you talk about this, Doug, all the time, that the district is one of the most exciting rounds in the tournament because it's near. You can have fans follow, and at the same time, you're playing really good competition, usually fairly even games. The boys in the sectional right now, what are some games of interest that you see in that?
Yeah, let's just go right down the list. Starting with Division 3, the Defiance Salina game, I think will be a pretty good ball game. Defiance obviously had a great season this year. Salina is always very good, so I think that will be a nice contest in Division 3. Hopping down to Division 4 boys, a couple of them there. Wauseon Napoleon, I think, is a great game. It's a great rivalry. Coach Krause, want to get your thoughts on that one?
Well, the Cats are going to go to Wauseon for that. I think they are a good game. I mean, Napoleon, their record's 7-13, but you know what? You cannot look at that record and say, man, that's not a really good record. But look at who they play. Their schedule is very, very challenging, and I would say that they play as challenging a team as anybody in our immediate area schedule. I mean, now Wauseon 10-11, they play a pretty good non-schedule as well. Coach Burt has really done a nice job beefing up that schedule, and it's going to pay dividends for him too. So, but I look for a good ball game. I really do. I think Napoleon with their athletes will battle.
Yeah, Wauseon coming off a very tough loss, the last game of the regular season to Bryan. I do not want to play a Chad Burt team when he has time to prepare and he has time to coach the chip on his shoulder. So that, I think, will be a really good contest for them to see. Bryan Maumee.
Well, before you go to Bryan Maumee, you mentioned their game against Bryan. They turned around next night, and their friends from Pettisville knocked them off, too. So now they got double edge
chip on each shoulder.
Yeah, the chips are there. And, like you said, I look for Wauseon to come out and get after him, but Napoleon's going to battle.
Yeah, I think Coach Burt's had some spirited conversations with the kids this week about that. Bryan Napoleon happened last night. Tough loss for the Bears. So Maumee will advance in that sectional to play Bellevue. In Division 5, I think a really good sectional. I think some higher seeds have a chance of getting knocked off. I think some great games. The first one, Liberty Center beat Emmanuel Christian last night. Now they will play Tenora in sectionals. Also in that bracket, Eastwood and Delta. And then another really highly interesting game, Swanton Archbold. So Coach Krause, I'd like to get your thoughts first on Tenora Liberty Center and then jump to Swanton Archbold.
Well, I would concur with what you said. I think Liberty going to Tenora will be a great game Friday night. Tenora has earned that number 1 seed, 17-4, and the Tigers come in at 10-12. But here's a Tiger team that's been up against the wall all year with their schedule. I mean, you have to realize that they missed a month of basketball. I mean, and now they're just kind of catching up. And this is a team that I'm not so sure I want to play. There's some athletes, and Coach Hopper will get them after. He'll get after them hard, and we'll go to Tenora on Friday night, and they will battle. And I know Coach Limestall is prepared for that. Should be a good ball game. I like the Delta Eastwood game. You did not mention that game. I think that's going to be a great game. Now Delta's got to drive to Pettisville, but there's 2 evenly matched teams. We saw Eastwood play this year, and of course we've seen Delta too. So I think those 2 teams will have a really good matchup. You mentioned the Streaks and Swanton. Archbold lost to Swanton over here at Archbold about a month ago or half a month ago, and that was a game that you just look back on and say, how do you lose that game? I mean, they banked in a 3 at the buzzer to win, and Archbold didn't shoot the ball very well from the foul line, which they've done a few times this year, and they didn't shoot it very well from the field as well. So Archbold's 12-10, Swanton's 11-11. I think it's a good matchup. Archbold better be able to do a good job with big old Charlie Woods inside. He's a man.
And Archbold may have the one post player who physically can match up with Charlie Wood's strength a little bit. And Mike Knopfsinger, I mean, he's a big kid, big strong kid. You hope he can get some leverage down in the post.
Well, he'll also need help from his perimeter guys. I always thought when we went against a big post like that, I wanted to put pressure on the wing. I didn't want that wing to be able to look inside, look at that big. I wanted to, bother that guy in the wing so much he couldn't look in there. So that's a factor. And I think also when that ball is in the air going into Charlie Woods, there's 2 guys there right now. I mean, they got to surround him.
So now that we're not coaching against each other, and you won't withhold all your wonderful secrets from me, when you had a good post player like Charlie Wood, did you want to double down from ball side? Did you want to double down from backside, from the point, or did it depend on where they put that ball side?
Well, I think what you do is you look at his teammates. Is there somebody you can play off of? If there's somebody you can play off of, he's the guy that's going to go run right now. He should be there as soon as he catches that ball. Now, if that wasn't the case, we always went the quickest guy, the guy closest. Oftentimes, it wasn't the other post player. It was right. Somebody from up top, because now we come down from the up top, like a point guard, whomever, and now we're right there. And now the other 2 guys are guarding 3 guys. All right, so the next pass out, we have to go, guard the next pass with the closest defender, and the guy who went down in double team, he's got to find a new guy to guard.
Yeah, that's the chess part I miss about coaching right there, because you always try to figure out if they're going to double. If they doubled from ball side, then you always run your good shooter to the same side the post player is on. They doubled backside, you want to put your best shooter or flip them, so your post guy knows to throw opposite.
We never doubled down from the ball side. I didn't want to leave any shooters. I don't care if they were good shooters or not. We weren't doing that. We were going to get help from someplace else.
Well, that's consistent with you saying often the inside-out 3 is the best 3-point look that anybody ever gets.
Well, it is.
There you go.
That's been mentioned by a lot smarter people than me.
And the reason I asked him that question, Ryan, is because we had the most difficulty at Bryan. We had some really good post players. Archbold gave us the single most difficult time of entering the ball into the post. And I thought he doubled from everywhere, honestly. But as a coach, that's what it seemed like. You doubled from everywhere. So I was kind of curious what
like I said, I really think part of that is putting pressure on the wing. That's to me is a start. We didn't want that guy to make the pass in there.
Right.
Now we never fronted necessarily. We would go 3/4 on the post on the baseline side, but we didn't total front unless we really thought we had to. I didn't like putting ourselves in a situation where we couldn't rebound. But it'll be interesting to see how the Streaks. What I'm looking for is when Charlie Woods gets that ball tomorrow night, that he's got people surrounding him right now. not after he catches it, when he catches it.
All right, let's hop to Division 6 boys. We have Patrick Henry against Antwerp, Hicksville against Sherwood, and Defiance Ayersville against Van Buren, and Evergreen against Elmwood. So, Coach Krause, a couple of those games stick out to me. I think the Hicksville-Fairview game will be a very interesting game because you have Defiance County and GMC rivals, and they played close games this year.
Yeah, and they played 2 games and they split. So both teams come in with 8 wins, and they both have a win against the other. So they obviously there's gonna be no secrets in that game. The Apaches have to go to Hicksville, and that's always a fun place to play. Beautiful facility over there. I think it's going to be a very, very good ball game, and I'm looking to see how that game turns out.
Ayersville with a tough task against Van Buren. I'd like to get your thoughts also on the Evergreen-Elmwood game.
Well, Ayersville's got to travel to Van Buren. That's a neat place down there at Van Buren. They'll get after them down there. So Ayersville's got to bring their A game for sure. Elmwood going to Evergreen. We like this Elmwood team. We've seen them, and they're just a nice squad. And Coach Bill Statter's done a really nice job with them. I'm good friends with Ty Traxler at Elmwood also, and he's only got 5 wins, but you know what? They're capable. I mean, I haven't seen this team this year, I'll be honest with you, but they traditionally have competed quite well.
And then hopping to Division 7, the Holgate Tigers from Southern Henry County, they'll have to travel to Kalida. That will be a tall task for the Tigers. And then you have the Division 7. Again, I think this is a really good division. I think for small school basketball, it's tremendous. You have North Central and Fayette, and that one will play Pettisville. You have Hilltop and Eden, Montpelier and Cardinal Stritch, and then Stryker Edgerton. I'd like to go to Stryker Edgerton because that's just a good old-fashioned Williams County battle.
Oh, my goodness, it will be. Stryker is going to be going to Edgerton as the 4 seed. Edgerton gets to host against the 5 seed. 14-8 Dogs versus 11-11 Panthers. You're looking at a good ball game. Stryker 11-11, but you know what? Their best player, a guy he'd been hurt. We missed 13 games. Daniel Donovan, which we talked to him here recently, and he's back. And Daniel can play, and he didn't play against Edgerton the first time around. So I think that'll be interesting matchups there. I like that Edgerton team. We saw them earlier in the year. And that's a well-rounded team. Coach Miller's doing a really nice job down there.
They're a heady group. I think that'd be a good adjective
That's a great description.
They're smart.
Yep, I like that.
And they have a lot of kids that have played 2 and 3 years of varsity basketball. So, yeah, I agree. I think a sneaky good game down the road, and let's say all the seeding plays out, and it always doesn't that way, but you could see in a district semifinal a Pettisville-Eden game, and I think that's a game of high intrigue if it gets to that point.
Yeah, that would be a fun game over at Bryan next week. But again, I wouldn't. I'm the old school guy that I didn't like to look ahead. I never did. I didn't want to play that type of game. I just wanted to play the game you had in front of you. I know you're, as a media guy that you are now, you're looking ahead like that. I don't like to do that. But I tell you what, I agree with you. It will be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I didn't either, but now that I'm allowed to look ahead, I kind of want to take the opportunity because I've never been allowed to in my life before. Another one I'm going to get Coach Rush's thoughts on because I think this is a really sneaky good team. And I don't know how sneaky they are, but they've had really good years, Montpelier. They have played really well. They put themselves in a position where, again, they could make a tournament run. I don't know how much you have seen them this year, but I think they're really good, and I think they're really well coached.
Yeah, we've had Coach on here, Coach Ramos, and you know what? They've had a great season, 16-5. They get a host sectional against Cardinal Stritch. Now that's interesting from the perspective that Cardinal Stritch has a pretty good schedule. They only got 4 wins, but don't kid yourself. They play a nice schedule in that TAC league and who they play down there. So they will bring some athletes to Montpelier. Now Montpelier's got some nice young athletes themselves. So that will be an interesting game too. I agree.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Once again, we invite you to drop us a line, ask questions about coaching, basketball, even funny situations. Maybe yours will be on our program and featured in the From the Bench segment if you drop us some sort of a message on Hoop Chat, NWOH Hoop Chat on Twitter or X. Also, email us at NWOhioHoopChat, all one word, NWOhioHoopChat@gmail.com. Thank you for our listeners for joining us for this week's edition of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Thanks again also to our sponsors, D&G Welding and Novatech Solutions, S&W Mills, and BSN Sports. This has been a production of WMTR Sports. For Doug Kraus and Tim Meister, I'm producer Ryan Throne. We'll see you courtside.